All right, we're over here on the irrigation install that I mentioned about a month or two ago that we were going to be doing around this time of year. Just kind of wanted to document the whole process from start to finish on irrigation install. One of the first things you want to do, obviously, is call up your dig safe or whatever your utilities marking. Try to get away from the truck here. Utilities marking company is in your area. Ours is called, well, it used to be On Point, now it's something else, it's not even Target. They had all kinds of fancy names, but it's basically a dig safe company. I believe there's a union or something, I don't know, but this is the type of markings that they'll give you, kind of tell you, G, which is, this yellow is usually gas, and I believe it says on the flags even, yeah, natural gas lines, so they go ahead and mark out so you know where it is. Now, gas lines should be buried plenty deep enough where we're not going to have to worry about it for irrigation, but you still want to be aware. It's usually a good idea to hand dig in the area that the gas line is, so we can see it's coming through here, and the flag's over here. So if we kind of look, looks like it's going right along the edge of this tree. So this gas line's probably been here for quite some time because the tree is pretty much growing almost on top of it here. So in this area, as we come through with the pipe pull, we want to be very careful. Like I said, we may hand dig it. We'll see how we're going with it, but my first step in the process is I like to go around and plan out everywhere there's going to be a head. You know, this can be subject to change, but I put flags out everywhere I'm planning to put a head to be able to plan out to make sure you have good coverage. And you know, there's some tight areas sometimes where you might need some small shooting heads, but this is going to be an interesting yard to try to get full coverage because we've got a lot of obstacles and stuff to deal with. But I've got a plan pretty good. I believe it's going to be either 4 or 5 zones. I think I might be able to get away with 4 zones. It's a fairly small yard, but it is going to be isolated. And I've got a couple of 300-foot rolls right here of the 1-inch poly pipe to pull. We're going to go pick up the machine and get that in the ground today. And this is the other side of the house. It's kind of a corner lot here. So this is going to be our farthest head that we have to feed. Right here, the flag has fallen apart, but here's the metal bracket. This is going to sweep and take care of this area here, and then we've got some other heads. This area here is not getting irrigated. It's kind of just a bed, even though there's grass in here now. This is just going to become one big mulch bed, so it's only the lawn out here that we're worried about. So we go ahead and mark out where we're going to have all the heads, and then that gives us kind of a path of plan. What I do is I usually start at the farthest one, and I'm going to go ahead and pull a pipe, and then I work my way back as close to as many of the heads that I can get, so we don't have to run too many T-lines off of that main pipe to feed them. This one is obviously kind of out in the middle of nowhere, so all the rest of them are on this side. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this pipe as close to these heads as I can get them, and I'm going to have to run one branch off just to feed that one head right there. And then what I do is, like I said, I start at my farthest point, and then I add. I'm going to get about 5 heads per zone, 5 to 6 heads, depending on what style of head I have and what their output is. But I kind of work my way to the farthest point until I'm full with heads, and then I send that pipe all the way back to the main box. That zone will be completed. Then I start off at the least farthest from there, so I'll have one zone that'll take care of all that section, and then the next zone will probably start here. A lot of times you'll have one zone that's up against the inner perimeter and then a zone that's on the outer perimeter. It just makes it easier for running your lines. So we'll have that one zone, probably a zone for the inners here, a zone for the outers. So there'll be 3 pipes that are going to have to be run back here, and then they're going to come back through. We've got the backflow preventer that need to have a licensed plumber install into the house, which we've already got done, which is right here. In this situation, they just put a 3/4 inch. We usually do a 1 inch, but the main water feed coming into the house from the street is only a 3/4 inch line, so there's no sense in going anything bigger than that. We're still running the 1 inch poly just because it's kind of the standard practice around here for irrigation systems, so it's larger than it needs to be, but it's fine. So all of these are going to be run around with the pipe puller, and this is where we're going to have our control box with all of our solenoids and valve right here, as close to the backflow as we can. So, and then we'll have a zone's going to branch off this way, a zone's going to branch off that way, and then a couple of zones from the backyard. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up the pipe puller, and we'll get some footage of pulling some pipe just so you can see what that's about. Alright, so this is a pipe puller. Shut this off. We've got a lot of different versions of this machine and different implements, but the basics of the machine is this unit right here, which kind of looks like a boat tail motor, or the I forgot what they call it on the bottom of a boat motor. But this is the actual part that does the work. Just go ahead and it slides down into the ground, basically slices right in, and this connects up to your pipe. It's kind of like a Chinese finger, and you slide the pipe in here and it holds onto the pipe really tight, and this blade just vibrates back and forth as it cuts through the ground and basically pulls the pipe underground. So that's all there is to it. Now that the height is adjustable, you want to keep it at least 6 inches down. Usually you're going around 10-12 inch area for irrigation pipe. Sometimes you'll end up going a little deeper. Sometimes you'll raise it up a little bit, like when we're working around that gas area, where the gas line is. We're probably going to bring it up to, you know, a good 6 inches below ground. You want it at least 6 inches below, because you don't want an aerator in the future to puncture any of the lines that you're running. So other than that, you can kind of go to whatever depth you want. So, but yeah, these can be rented pretty much at any rental center. This is kind of a ride-on one. A lot of times you'll have one that you'll stand next to and kind of control from walking next to it, and some have attachments for like Toro Dingos that you can add. This is a pretty nice unit that should work out really good. So get some video of this thing in action. All right, I forgot to film some of this process, but we've got our lines almost all completed. I'll show you the last bit. Kind of buried here, line over this way. Had a lot of tree roots to deal with, so we got a little bit of cleaning up to do, but you can see we got a line run through here, line over here for the outer perimeter. Go ahead and show you the machine in action and the last bit of hose. I figured about 500 feet, and I ended up buying 600, and I'm going to be a little bit short. Had all kinds of tree roots over here to deal with, but the rest I can just do by hand. Now this, see how it's kind of lifted up? After this is, I pull the rest of this line through, I drive over this with the machine and it pushes it back down. This lawn's kind of full of crabgrass anyways. The whole idea is to get it in good shape. That's why we're doing irrigation. I just had somebody here helping me. You kind of need somebody to hold this end of the pipe, the spool, unless they actually have a contraption that's like a little metal spool that you put on the ground, and you can put it in and it unrolls it as you're pulling it. But you kind of need somebody to navigate this. Where I'm at the end here, it's not a big deal. It'll pull right into the ground. So I've got probably 30 feet left there that I got to pull from here up to here where the valve box is going to be. Just take you along for how this thing works. see how that, and then you just go ahead and push this back down, and it creates a seam like you won't even know that we were ever here, besides the tree roots that we got to remove. But even through sharp corners and whatnot, you're able to pull this underground with that machine. It's really nice. Yeah, still got a little bit more I can pull. I'll use that remainder just to go to one of the heads over here. But yeah, that's how a pipe puller works. I was talking about with the ramp angle, by putting the dump body up like that, it reduces the angle for anything that I worry about, and then you kind of see the angle change of the ramps. Gets a little steeper as it goes down. Not that much of a change, but sometimes it's just enough to make a little bit of a difference. Do a little chat as we're going to return this pipe puller. Was kind of in a hurry there to get back on the road. It's 3:36 now. I believe the place closes at 5. I picked the machine up at 1, so I was able to run 600 feet of pipe and pick it up in was that 2.5 hours? And that was driving, I would say, probably 25 minutes from the rental shop to the job itself. So you figure a half an hour travel, so 2 hours worth of work to run all that pipe and kind of plan it out. And that was kind of taking my time, going slow. I had a couple areas that were issues, but it goes pretty quick. So I didn't get to explain it on the 1-inch pipe, but that's kind of your main root system, if you will. If irrigation system was a tree, that's kind of the main stalk of the tree going up. All of those 1-inch pipes, you want to kind of get to areas as close to all of the heads as you possibly can. So, you know, the closer you run that pipe to where the heads are going to end up, the less hand digging you have, because from there you connect with what's called funny pipe, which is a 1/2-inch flexible pipe tubing, which is also looks, you know, very similar to what we just ran, only much smaller, and that runs from the 1-inch line over to the head. So that's the next stage as far as hooking the heads into the water system there. So like I said, you want to go ahead and run that 1-inch pipe and plan it out as best you can. You know, depending on, you usually run in 5-6 heads per zone in the area where I'm working. We've got town water pressure. It's pretty good. If you're dealing with the well water, you're going to want to do measurements and see how many gallons per minute your water system is capable of putting out, and also the pressure. And there's calculations to figure out exactly, you know, each head has a gallon per minute rating, and you know, you got to figure out how many heads you can put on one line to make sure that it has proper pressure and volume. But for the most part, there's usually not a ton of figure, and I just kind of over plan it. Like I said, if you keep within certain limits and you've got decent water pressure, you don't really need to figure all that out. You know, if you end up with a problem in one zone or one area, you can always make an adjustment later. So we got that all ran. The next stage I'll have later on in this video or in an upcoming video. I don't know how long I've got a footage here so far, so I might cut this and do a part 2 of the irrigation install, and I'll kind of walk you through the process of connecting all the heads and getting those set to where they need to be putting the nozzles in and adjusting the swing pattern on them, as well as we'll get the controller and the valve box with all the solenoids up against the house. We're going to get that manifold all connected up and run the wiring and all that fun stuff. So stick around, watch part 2 if it's not in this video, and we'll have some more info, and maybe you want to try doing your own irrigation system. It's not really hard. It's very simple, just kind of tedious. You know, it's just a matter of running plastic tubes, no different than you'd be running a water hose, just you're doing it underground. And then the system of electrical solenoids to turn on each valve, which would be the same as you turning on your faucet from the outside by hand. And you turn on each zone individually through an electronic valve as opposed to a hand valve. And that's basically what makes up the whole system. So, all right guys, have a good one.